Improvement cycles support the purposeful process of change. These cycles have many names, like an MTSS problem solving, database decision making, plan, do, study, act cycle, but all are quite similar and have been around for many years and used in many contexts and many different fields. It's a way of doing pilot testing while you are evaluating the effects, correcting errors rapidly, and improving. Implementation teams employ PDSA cycles in order to intentionally identify, problem solve, and alleviate barriers. For example, plan. Identify barriers or challenges. Use the data. Specify the plan to move the program or innovation forward, as well as how you will monitor if it works. Do. Carry out the strategies and plan specifically to address these challenges. Study. Use the measures identified in the planning phase to say, are we doing what we said we'd do? And is it working? Act. Make changes to the next iteration of the plan to improve implementation. But again, not all challenges can be solved at the building level. For enabling contexts, all levels have to work together towards making an innovation sustainable, and this requires teaming and a policy practice feedback loop. In initial implementation, systems barriers will become apparent. New practices do not fare well in existing organizational structures. That's why there was an issue to resolve in the first place. And too often, effective innovations are changed to fit the system rather than the system changing to support the innovation. The implementation team driver says that leadership teams at each level meet regularly to communicate progress, barriers, and to work to resolve those barriers at each respective level. For example, maybe implementing a reading approach in Tier 1 for students requires your reading specialist to coach general education teachers. But his or her role is funded through one stream that only allows for work directly serving one population. The building can't solve that problem, but communicates it to the district leadership. The district leadership either works to resolve it, or if the root cause is a state regulation, then the district communicates it to the state level, and together they work to resolve it. The product of strong teaming is a practice-to-policy bi-directional communication loop. This is where initiatives either become sustainable, as in the organizational driver, or where they go to die, metaphorically. As we discussed with the drivers, only focusing on the practice level, the teachers, or educators, will only get you so far. The key thing implementation science research has found with successful change at the systems level is that it depends on responsive practice-to-policy communication loop where barriers at the practice level, teacher, related service provider, specialist, building level, those barriers are fed directly back to the district to change long-standing policies and procedures so as to create an enabling context for change. Too often, we see top-down communication that an initiative needs to be worked on, but without regularly scheduled recurring bottom-up feedback to identify systems barriers for upper levels of administration to resolve. Connecting policy to practice reduces barriers to high-fidelity implementation. Supporting implementation of new practices as research intended is instrumental in moving the innovation to just how we do business. Another reason for that teaming and policy feedback loop? Too often innovations rely on just a champion or two. Those champions can move on to new challenges or burn out. So too goes the innovation with that individual leaving. Teams help with sustainability by not depending only on a champion or two. Research shows that if we invest in implementation teams, we are much more likely to get the desirable outcomes that we want and to do it much faster. We move from letting it happen, or I like to call train and hope, to making it happen, or effective use of implementation science.